thought I'd take something which is sort of a piece. When I chaired the task force produced towards an urban renaissance, and we were doing the first draft, I noticed a word that was quite often crossed out, and the word was beauty, by the civil servant. And when I asked him, he said, well, if you want to get anywhere in politics, you can't use the word beauty, which I thought was an interesting concept. So it doesn't exist. And this is, and I'm going to talk a bit about it. This also niggled me, this question, the idea that beauty, and I relate it immediately to culture, of course, and I think what makes life worth living is culture. And beauty is certainly part of that concept. But this should be a golden period. We have a fantastic ability of choosing people, whether it's from New Zealand or whether it's northern Canada or the Sahara. You can take people, men and women, and use them. And we're talking about design and beauty is done by tools, and with people with vision. I think we all accept that there are certain elements which have a common beauty. One of the sentences that annoys me most is, well, it's subjective. Beauty has no intrinsic values beyond that which is in the eye of the beholder. Yet when you say to them, well, if you see Venus of Milo, or you hear a Bach fugue, or Leonardo's Mona Lisa, or whichever you want to choose, Palladium Villa, do you say it's all subjective, or do we nearly all agree? And our answer usually is, yeah, we agree. Those buildings are beautiful, or the music is beautiful, or that sculpture, whatever it is beautiful. There, through time, we have defined a beauty. Therefore, beauty exists. So I think this constant belief that beauty, then of course related to design, and is something which is real value. So don't get fobbed off by the continuous erosion, especially in the media and the politics, that it's something which is not really worth talking about because it's not like sending soldiers to Iraq. In other words, you can't come. It has a more complex situation. It is not just about economics. It involves all those elements. Now, as an architect, I know very, very well that I work as a team. It's no longer possible to sort of do a design of even a small building on one's own, let alone pieces of city. And that's why we need all these things. We need a whole complex delivery system and processes. And if we don't have those processes in place, we're not going to move forward because we live in a very complex society. But we do need to recognize that there are a number of very talented designers and that they need to be in the right place. I'm slightly despondent, and Richard must be even more so because he spends more time in trying to encourage, or trying, I'm going to say, to titivate bad design into being a bit better design. It's a tremendously painful and very difficult. I'm probably not so kind on this because I just feel that in the end, if you start with something which is truly pretty terrible, you can titivate, but you're not going to be all there all the time. So you've got to choose the right people. It's just like playing a game of tennis. They have to have had the training. I don't believe correctly that one is born, but I do believe training is very important. And I think therefore we have to start at a moderately high level. We've got to select the right people to lead those design teams if design is a lead process, and recognize that really this can make a change. Now I think we all accept that buildings and even more public spaces can brutalize people. If people that come from appalling ghettos of poverty, if everybody with skills and with a bit of money have left that area because they can move and leaving this brutal area, we know that they have a much less of a chance to succeed in life. Unless you succeed as a broad system, inclusive. So in terms of communities, in terms of individuals, social inclusion has become and is affected by the built environment. These are, in a sense, the two poles and what we as architects, planners, and related professionals work on. People, buildings, environment. Of course, the third one, which has come up very fast, is the whole responsibility to the ecology. So you can make those 3 points. But still, I come back in a moment to quality of design. If we accept we've been brutalized, if we accept that Georgian terraces, I've very seldom heard people not saying, I'd love it to live in a Georgian house, just using that. That's my way. But therefore, they make a decision. If you live in certain areas near a beautiful river, a great park, that adds not only beauty, it actually adds to the value of the building, and adds, of course, to the quality of the life of your children and your grandparents, or everybody else around you. In other words, the whole thing is qualitative. It's not subjective. I am very concerned by the state of the public domain in London. I have to say it's improved a lot. And I've been here, as you can see, a long time. I came over when I was 5 from Italy. And certainly London has never been better, and the public domain is improving. But then if you take the next step, which is, well let's make it one more good point. I think one of the biggest changes is exactly along here. I think to walk from the wheel, if you like, or down that area, and to walk, let's say, to the design museum. This was a no-go area 20 years ago. I remember well when I a little bit earlier when I left the AA, looking with my wife for a place to live here. She just couldn't live. There wasn't any. This was going to be a new industrial docklands of the future. Today, it is the most lively, most vital. Come on Saturday or Sunday and see the different ethnic groups are cooking or making music or so on. It's fantastic. So that's a success story. That's a real success story. Probably, in my opinion, the best urban regeneration in Britain. This amazing walk with all its colourful institutions, bridges, and stuff. On the other hand, there's a lot of areas which are pretty terrible. If you just walk outside and you look at the paving, if you look at the street, and the street is the key, it's the nervous system of the public domain. If the street doesn't work, that's where you basically meet people. I'm all for parks, I'm all for avenues, I'm all for squares. But the real place where you spend most of the time is the streets. And if you start counting, by the way, the number of people who uses those spaces, the number of cars, of course, people in terms of more people will nearly always be more than cars. Now we're pushing hard back now towards a more balanced view of the pedestrian streets for people. Critical part. And we are changing. But we have a long way to go. And I think this is, if I have to say, of all the things which really I'd like to push harder on, is those public spaces, and specifically the streets. I'll just finish. I'm sure a lot of you will know that wonderful Greek oath which was made, Hellenic oath, 2,500 years ago. The citizens of Athens, when they were made citizens, of course they were male, white, etc., and they were very few and very exclusive, but still, it was the beginning of the modern culture, shall we call it. Swore to leave their city better than they entered it. I think that's what we have to do. Thank you.